Princess uses a similar tensioner, it might even be the same tensioner as the Pinto engine as fitted in Ford Sierras, Capris, etc. And it's just one little 13mm bolt there, well, nut rather, and you slacken that off and move it where you need it to. So that's slackened off, belt's nice and free. And bearing's not the best, but yeah, it'll do for now, it's fine. Yeah, the other thing is, can you see, well, it's very covered in water, but I think this seal back here is actually weeping, and I think it's actually going down, all down here, and I think that's where my oil leak is, because it's the only thing from that far up that can do that. So we might actually fix an oil leak with this job, so that would be nice. Good old Stanley knife for this job, and like I say, you cut through your belt, stops you reusing it, and makes it very easy to remove. Obviously, because we set this to the timing as per the book beforehand, we know we're safe to do that, because this is, as I found out a few years ago, an interference engine, and if you get your timing wrong, it will smash all your valves into all of your pistons and give you a bad time. Now then, I think these are 10s. Yes. And then to be able to lift the top off, I've got to do the end plate here. This is another thing to note as well. If you're doing one of these, make sure you use a gasket in this end, because if you don't, the end plate sits too close to the head. It gets the camshaft gets stuck. It then can't turn properly, and it smashes all your valves into all your pistons. I really didn't enjoy learning that. Here you go, so that's with the end plate off, and you can just see that the camshaft just sticks out a little bit. So even though there is a recess in this end plate, because this is basically to allow the oil to go between the two halves, you do need to make sure that there's at least a paper gasket in here. Don't use sealant, because if you do, it all sandwiches too close, and this does get stuck in the end plate. I know it sounds silly, and I know it sounds like it doesn't do it, but trust me, it does, because it did it to me. Normally you wouldn't get caught out with it, because obviously you have a full gasket set. I can't remember the reason why I didn't have that gasket, but there was a reason. Okay, just finish undoing these, and then we'll have a look inside. I'm not expecting any horrors in there, to be honest. Everything's been fine, but we'll see. Actually, I'm not going to take the top off outside. I'll do this inside, because I've cracked these off. So the hardest bit to do on the bench is actually undoing these. So as long as they're, you know, that loose, I've not done these two. I can deal with that on the bench, and then I can just take the whole thing off as one, and I'll show you the innards when we're stripping it all down. Okay, head bolts. There's two here and two here which are longer, and that's because you can lift the engine out. You bolt down some brackets onto these two here, and it allows you to lift the whole engine out if you've got those brackets. The other 6 are in the middle there in 3 pairs. And they are a 17. Now I know these aren't loose because recently I did torque them, so to try and find out whether or not that was the problem with the head gasket, it wasn't. Oh, blimey. Big bar. Also, check my list. I was about to start on the wrong one. Start on this one. There we go. Yep, requires a bit of effort, and I'm getting about to the limit of what I can do in this temperature. I still have to be a bit careful. My health is still a bit wobbly. Okay. Do those properly. Before I do anything else, just to be extra sure, I'm going to get some cardboard and just drop these in the order I take them out, just in case. You can get all kinds of fancy pre-made things. I'm just going to go old school. So old school, I forgot to count. Right, that is all the head bolts out and in order. One thing I don't like about this engine is apparently this is number 1 cylinder and this is number 4, but for me that's number 1 and that's number 4. So to avoid any inconsistencies, what I do is I write down what it is and then which side the belt is. As long as everything's laid out the same way, that works just fine. Head is ready to come off so we can see what's going on. Let's see what we've got. Let's see if it wants to come off. Sometimes it comes off easy, sometimes it doesn't. No, easy one this time. Oh, I missed a pipe. I missed the heater pipe. Alright, let's do that. There we go. Right, now let's have a look. Oh, okay. Well, it's a little bit sludgy. Now I do know it's been overdue on a service, but That gasket isn't very flat either. That's very strange. I have to say, there's not really any kind of smoking gun here. There's some sludgy deposits here. The coolant that came out wasn't too bad, so I'm guessing it's just got a bit silted up. They do. But there's no, like, massive blow-through points or anything, because it was this cylinder that was the problem. Now, it's also this cylinder that has these sludgy deposits that are the heaviest. But yeah, apart from the gasket, I don't know why it's the shape it is. It almost feels like the gasket shrunk, which is a bit peculiar. I've not experienced that before. It is a bit oily in here. I mean, it's an engine. I do think the piston rings aren't great on this car. I will be honest about that. But there's no horrible scoring on those bores at all. They actually look pretty clean. There's no ridge to speak of. Like, I can't feel anything there. There's nothing that looks really deadly. Which is a relief. I mean, I'm not seeing any horribleness as, you know, dirt like you'd expect, but I'm not seeing any horribleness in here, which is good. Maybe I've just been really lucky. I've noticed there's a problem and I've caught it before it's done any real damage. That's what I'm hoping. But I think it's this gasket. I've got a funny feeling that gasket's gone bad somehow. You know, because when it sits down, it just doesn't. No, it just doesn't seem right. Normally, when I pull the head off, a gasket will be very flat, and normally it's very stuck, either on the block or the head. When I've done this engine before, this was completely loose. Yeah, that's a bit weird. Let's have a look at the underside of the head and see if that tells us anything. Here we go. This was the cylinder with low compression, and aside from not looking, you know, brand new, because it's not, again, doesn't look too terrible. The only thing I have noticed is this end has a lot more moisture on it. This is the problem end. So, you know, the rest of it is fairly clean. Now, obviously, we've pulled the head off and it's disturbed all the fluids and everything, but there is, again, on this side, there's a build-up of some sludge in here and in here. So I wonder if there's just been something in the system combined with a bad gasket, and it's just, you know, I'm not an engine bod. I do not know what I'm looking at here. I don't know whether this is good or bad. I'm sure you can do some scaremongering in the comments for me. I think it's running a bit rich. I'm pretty sure of that. So I would like it tuned properly, but I don't see anything that worries me. Like normally when I've pulled the head off and it's blown the head gasket, there's something really obvious. There's marks. There's, you know, holes in the gasket. There isn't this time. Yeah. Okay. Next job: tidy up before I make myself ill with this cold, and then we'll strip this down. And we'll have a look inside it, because I've got to strip it down for the garage. It's cold. I don't do well with the cold, especially at the moment. I tend to limit myself to about 2 hours outside when it's cold like this. That's all I can manage, and I'm coming to my limit. I know the video is shorter than that, but that's editing for you. Right, I am going to send this off to the garage so they can test it, skim it if it needs it, although I would be surprised, to be honest. And then we'll rebuild it as soon as I can. Couple of things. Obviously, like, subscribe, comment, blah blah blah. Description box, have a look. But also, there are some things in this engine bay people do not like, and I am with you on that. The thermostat setup is one of them. I could not, a few years ago, get a thermostat housing for this car. Remember, this car has been out of production for at least 30 years. The company that made it no longer exists. So getting parts sometimes can be a bit tricky. I I'm hoping when I get the head done they can put the spare one that I got, admittedly a few years ago, but I didn't have the means to get everything sorted at the time. So that should deal with that hose that nobody likes, providing the garage can do it. I'm also, while the head is off, going to deal with that one noisy valve shim. I'm going to try and get that resolved. That might slow me down. I'll have to order shims, try and fit the right one, order some more, because you can't just buy a box anymore, at least not at a reasonable price, and I just need whichever one is the right size. Also, things, if it needs a skim, I might need slightly different shims anyway. We will see. What else? Yes, I'm going to be slowed down waiting on parts really. I've got to order some oil, some coolant, I've got oil filters happily, and I think I've got a gasket set for this car. None of it's particularly expensive, thankfully, and thanks to the generosity of people who made some donations when I put the shout out, the cost of doing this job is actually covered, so thank you very, very much for that. That has really taken a load off. Yeah. Why can't cars decide to break down when it's lovely weather and it's actually a joy to work outside? Why do they have to do it in January? See you next time.